Gainbridge Fieldhouse roars like a jet engine, 40,000 voices fused into one thunderous chant. Caitlin! Caitlin! The rookie just torched the league for 45, the scoreboard still smoking, confetti drifting like snow across a sea of glowing foams. Every headline screams the same truth. Women's basketball just hijacked the entire sports internet in one night. Cut to 30,000 feet. A private jet knives through the dark. Inside, a single phone screen burns with a text that will obliterate everything. 7 digits. 150. 6 zeros behind it. $150 million. Ownership stake. Full marketing rights. The undisputed face of a brand new league. And the sender is not the WNBA. In a Manhattan hotel suite, Caitlin Clark stares at the message, pulse hammering in her throat. Because that number isn't just money. It's every uncalled flagrant. Every cheap shot she ate while smiling for cameras. Every time the league banked millions off her name then. Slid her a rookie check for 76 grand and called it fair. 150 million reasons to finally walk away from the people who treated her like rented equipment. Meanwhile, in a midtown boardroom that reeks of cold sweat, WNBA executives refresh their feeds on loop, watching the leak ricochet across the timeline. Phones detonate. Agents blow up group chats. The same veterans who spent the season clotheslining the league's cash cow suddenly can't find their voices. Right now, at this very second, the most valuable player in women's sports holds a contract that can either resurrect a broken system or burn it to the ground. One pen stroke, one choice, and the empire that swore it owned her forever just felt the floor drop out from under its feet. The clock is ticking, America. When that ink hits paper, the sound won't be a signature. It'll be the final buzzer on a league too proud to protect its queen. Stay with me, because what happens next doesn't just rewrite basketball. It rewrites who gets to own their own story. This isn't just a contract offer. This is a referendum on whether women's basketball keeps kneeling to a system that still thinks gratitude is currency, or whether it finally stands up and demands its worth. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just break records, she broke the ceiling clean off. She turned half-empty gyms into religious experiences, turned ESPN highlight reels into appointment television, turned little girls from every zip code, small-town white kids in Iowa, black and brown daughters of immigrants in Atlanta, first-gen Asian American teens in Cali, into believers that the court could be theirs too. She became the bridge so many of us never had, proof that you can come from anywhere, look like anyone, and still force the world to make room. And how did the WNBA repay the woman who single-handedly dragged them into the cultural mainstream? They paid her $76,800, less than some college. NIL kids make posting TikToks less than the catering budget for one playoff game. While Nike sold 8-figure sneakers off her silhouette, while State Farm built entire campaigns around her smile, while every sponsor on earth finally saw women's sports as profit instead of charity, the league that claimed to protect players handed her a rookie-scale deal and told her to be thankful the checks cleared. But the disrespect wasn't just financial. It was physical. It was spiritual. Night after night, we watched veterans throw elbows like they were auditioning for Fight Club. Watched referees swallow their whistles when number 22 hit the floor. Watched the league office issue statements about physical play instead of suspensions. They let jealousy wear a jersey and call it tradition. They let resentment police the perimeter and call it gatekeeping. And every time Caitlin rose, blood on her lip, smile still intact, she was proving something bigger than basketball. That dignity isn't given, it's carried inside you, even when the whole system wants you to leave it at the door. Now, a new league steps out of the shadows, founded by players who lived the same hypocrisy, Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Two queens who got tired of begging for crumbs. They're not asking permission anymore. They're building a table and offering Caitlin the head seat, complete with ownership, profit share, and the one thing the WNBA never gave her: the power to protect the next generation the way no one ever protected her. This is the moment the story tilts. One side clings to the old script: loyalty above everything. Pay your dues, wait your turn, know your place. The other side writes a new one. Your value is not negotiable. Your safety is not optional. Your future is not theirs to ration. And right now, in a decision that will echo from Southside playgrounds to suburban driveways where little girls still tape Caitlin posters above their beds, the most watched athlete in America is deciding which script she's willing to live. Because if she signs, the revolution isn't coming. It's already here. And the league that taught her how brutal the game could be is about to learn how merciless progress feels when it finally gets tired of asking nicely. Let's pull the curtain all the way back on the empire that crowned itself untouchable. For 28 years, the WNBA sold us a fairy tale. Scrappy underdog league, fighting for every inch. A sisterhood where everyone sacrifices for the greater good. Beautiful marketing. By the way, that exploded the second Caitlin Clark stepped on campus at Iowa. They cashed her future before she ever signed her name, then handed her a paycheck that wouldn't cover rent in half the cities she saved. And when the hate turned physical, when elbows flew and bodies crashed with intent no one could misread, the league office perfected the art of the non-response. That's just hard-nosed basketball. She has a target on her back because she's that good. Translation: we're making too much money off her pain to risk upsetting the veterans who still believe the league belongs to them. Remember the veterans? The ones who spent years in half-empty arenas, who carried the torch when no one else cared, who now watched a white girl from Iowa turn their grind into overnight primetime gold and decided the proper response was to punish her for it. They clothed their resentment in the language of tradition, measured in bruises instead of billions, as if the same league that begged corporate America to finally care suddenly forgot whose spotlight was paying the bills. Commissioners gave speeches about growing the game while privately praying the target stayed on Caitlin's back just long enough to keep the old guard happy. Referees developed selective vision the moment number 22 drove the lane. Analysts who spent decades demanding more coverage suddenly criticized her for wanting special treatment when she dared point out the double standard. The message was crystal: disrupt the hierarchy, and the hierarchy will break you. They thought they could control the narrative the way they always had. Leak stories about her attitude. Let talking head panels debate whether she was good for the league or dividing it. Meanwhile, every sold-out arena, every skyrocketing TV rating, every little black and brown and immigrant kid rocking a Fever jersey in the stands was screaming the truth. Truth they refused to hear. The hierarchy was already dead. Caitlin just had the receipts. And the cruelest part? They actually believed she'd stay quiet. That a kid raised on Midwestern manners would keep smiling through split lips and swallowed whistles, because loyalty is supposed to be blind. They bet everything on her goodness. They never once considered she might be good and done at the same time. So when Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, two of the league's own former golden children, started making calls, started whispering about a league where players own the profits they create, the WNBA laughed it off as a cute side hustle. They posted throwback photos about sisterhood, while their lawyers drafted non-disparagement clauses. They scheduled emergency diversity summits while quietly telling sponsors everything was under control. Everything was not under control, because every time they let another cheap shot go unpunished, they were writing the fine print on Caitlyn's exit. Clause. Every time they celebrated record revenue without rewriting a single rookie contract, they were handing unrivaled the blueprint. Every time they chose the comfort of the old guard over the future screaming in their face, they were proving exactly why someone else needed to build the table. The arrogance wasn't just financial, it was existential. They actually believed the league's survival depended on keeping players small, not on making them whole. And now, the mirror they spent years avoiding is being held up by the one person they never thought would dare. The Empress has no clothes, and the entire world is finally noticing. But before we watch her empire burn, we need to go back, way back, to the quiet cornfields where a girl learned that real power isn't loud. It waits, it watches, and when the moment comes, it strikes with a precision no arrogance can survive. West Des Moines, Iowa. A driveway lit by a single floodlight, the kind that hums like a promise in the Midwest. Dark, a little girl with a ponytail and a dream too big for the cornfields is out there every night, all pounding concrete until the neighbors stop complaining and start leaving their porch lights on for her. That girl is Caitlin Clark, and long before the world learned her name, the court already knew she was different. She grows up in a house where hard work is the only religion anyone preaches. Her dad coaches, her mom keeps the books. Her brothers rough her up just enough to teach her that falling is part of flying. There's no silver spoon, no AAU super team pipeline, no private skills trainer with an Instagram full of future lottery picks. Just a kid who treats every missed shot like a personal betrayal, and every made one like a thank you note to every girl who ever got told sports weren't for her. College Station, Iowa City, becomes holy ground. She walks on that Hawkeye floor and turns it into a cathedral. Final Four runs, logo threes that break physics, games where the crowd forgets to breathe. But watch the close-ups. After every record, she points to the logo on her chest, to the teammates who believed before the cameras did, to the little kids in the nosebleeds wearing homemade 22 jerseys. She never forgets where the light comes from. And when the hate starts rolling in, when message boards call her overrated, when grown men online say she only gets attention because she's white, when certain corners of the internet decide her success is an insult to someone else's struggle, Caitlin does something radical. She keeps smiling, not the fake kind, the kind that says, I see you, I hear you, and I'm still going to take this shot. She turns every slight into fuel, every doubter into another reason to drop 40. Then the WNBA calls, draft night, the confetti, the hugs, the promise of finally belonging to the sisterhood she grew up worshiping. And for a minute, Maybe, too, it feels like the fairy tale is real. It isn't. The bruises come first. The silence. Then the realization that the league she idolized never planned to protect the parts of her that didn't fit the old narrative. But here's what they never understood. Caitlin Clark was forged in places that taught her pain is just information. Every uncalled foul, every eye roll from a vet, every article questioning whether she deserved the hype. She files it away like a scientist collecting data on exactly how much the game still fears a girl who refuses to shrink. Off the court, she's the kid signing autographs until security begs her to leave, FaceTiming young cancer patients at 2 a.m., showing up to small-town gyms in Indiana because some 8th grader wrote her a letter. She's the one reading every DM from the queer teenager who saw her play and finally felt tall enough. From the daughter of immigrants who watched her rise and believed America might keep its promises after all. That's the secret the old guard never learned. Caitlin's power was never just the range. On her jumper, it was the way she carried an entire generation's dreams without ever letting them crush her. It was the way she answered hate with harder work, answered cheap shots with kinder words, answered being told, "Wait your turn," with "No. The future is already here, and it's wearing my shoes." So when that $150 million offer slides across the table, it doesn't land in the hands of some entitled rookie drunk on fame. It lands in the hands of a woman who has spent her entire life being told her value had limits, and who spent that same life proving the people doing the telling were always, always wrong. She's not angry. She's awake. And in the quiet of whatever room she's sitting in right now, reading terms that finally match the size of her impact, something shifts. The little girl under the floodlight who just wanted to belong looks up, sees the empire that tried to break her, and realizes the most revolutionary thing she can do isn't leave. It's build something so undeniable that no little girl ever has to choose between belonging and being whole again. The question isn't whether she's ready to walk away from the league that never protected her. The question is whether that league is ready for what happens when the most dangerous kind of hero, the quiet one who's been taking notes, finally decides it's her turn to speak. The war isn't fought in press conferences anymore. It's fought in encrypted group chats, in hushed conversations at all-star weekends, in the dead air after practice, when veterans stare at rookies and wonder who's next. Unrivaled didn't just send Caitlin Clark a term sheet. They dropped a manifesto, and every player in the league felt the ground move. 7-figure base salaries, real equity that vests the day you sign, creative control over your own image, health insurance that actually covers fertility treatments and mental health without making you beg. A league built by players for players, where the phrase "pay your dues" finally dies a quiet, dignified death. And at the very top of the offer, in bold, is a number so large it feels obscene next to the WNBA's $76,800 rookie line item. 150 million reasons to never again apologize for being the reason people finally showed up. Inside WNBA headquarters, the panic is delicious. Emergency Zoom calls at 3 a.m. Crisis PR firms on speed dial. One leaked memo accidentally forwarded to the entire Players Association actually uses the phrase, "retain Caitlin at all costs." Translation, "We will move heaven and earth to keep the cash cow in the barn." now that someone else built a palace. Veterans who spent the season preaching loyalty suddenly sound like hostage negotiators. "She owes us," one texts reporter off the record. "We made her." The irony is thicker than arena popcorn. The same voices that dismissed her complaints about targeting, the same mouths that called her soft. Legacy. They post throwback photos from draft night, caption them family, and pray the algorithm buries the footage of them clotheslining her in transition. Meanwhile, Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, two of the league's brightest crowns, aren't playing subtle. They're on podcasts, on morning shows, on every platform that will have them, speaking in calm, measured tones that somehow feel louder than shouting. "We're not asking players to burn the WNBA down," Stewie says. Eyes steady. "We're just refusing to keep rebuilding it on their backs." The subtext is deafening. And Caitlin? Caitlin goes radio silent. No cryptic tweets, no teary Instagram lives, just practice footage of her draining logo threes like the weight of the world is another defender she's about to cross over. The quiet is terrifying, because everyone knows what silence means when it comes from a woman who has spent 2 years being told to speak when spoken to. Agents are blowing up her phone. Nike wants to know which logo goes on next year's signature shoe. ESPN wants to know which network gets the exclusive. Little girls in fever jerseys are crying in TikTok comments, "Please don't leave us." Grown women who never watched a basketball game before last year are lighting candles like it's a vigil. The clock is ticking so loud you can hear it across state lines. Every day she doesn't say no is another day the WNBA's television partners recalculate projections. Another day sponsors quietly move money into escrow. Another day the old guard realizes the throne they were guarding was never theirs to begin with. And in a hotel room somewhere, or maybe back in that same Iowa driveway under the floodlight that started it all, Caitlin Clark is holding two futures in her hands. One is familiar. More bruises, more lectures about patience, more watching the league profit off her pain while calling it growth. The other is terrifying in its possibility, a blank page, a new table, a world where the next. Little girl never has to choose between safety and greatness. The room is quiet. The pen is heavy. And somewhere in the distance, you can almost hear the old empire holding its breath, praying the hero they never protected still loves them enough to stay broken. She's about to show them what love actually looks like when it finally learns its worth. Then a silence breaks. Not with a leak, not with a podcast, not with some carefully lawyered statement drafted by 5 agents and a crisis firm. It breaks with a single Instagram post at 11:07 p.m. Eastern. A black screen, white letters, no caption needed. "I was told to wait my turn. I was told paying was part of paying dues. I was told the league that needed me would protect me when I needed it most. They were wrong on all 3. Thank you, next chapter, Unrivaled 2026. The internet explodes so hard, servers stutter. Within 8 minutes, #ThankYouNextChapter is the #1 trend worldwide. Within 12, the WNBA's official account. Ratioed into oblivion by little girls posting heartbreak emojis and grown women posting champagne gifs. Within 20, every sports anchor in America is reading the same 4 sentences on loop like they're the Zapruder film. But Caitlin isn't done. The next morning, she walks into a midtown studio. Simple black hoodie, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, No jewelry except the tiny gold chain her grandmother gave her the day she left Iowa. And sits down across from Malika Andrews. No publicist hovering, no notes. Just a woman who has decided the truth doesn't need a handler. Malika barely gets the first question out. Caitlin leans forward, voice soft but lethal. They keep saying I'm burning the house down. I didn't burn anything. I just stopped watering their dead garden. The studio goes dead quiet. She keeps going. I took elbows to the ribs while referees looked at the ceiling. Shelves. I read articles from people who never laced up a sneaker telling me to be grateful. And every single night, I went home and asked myself how many more little girls had to watch me bleed before someone decided my safety was worth more than somebody's feelings. She pauses, lets the silence do the screaming for her. Unrivaled didn't recruit me to destroy anything. They offered me the same thing they're offering every woman who's tired of begging. A seat at the table. Love is choosing progress over nostalgia. And if the league I loved can't love me back the way I deserve, then I'll build a league that loves all of us the right way. She stands up before they can cut to commercial, walks off set while the crew is still frozen. The clip ends with the camera lingering on an empty chair and Malika Andrews whispering, "I think we just witnessed history." By noon, Unrival's website crashes from traffic. By 2, Nike quietly updates its investor deck with new revenue projections. By 4, Angel Reese posts a thinking face emoji that breaks the internet a second time. By 6, the WNBA issues a statement so bland it might as well be written in disappearing ink. We remain committed to all our players. Translation, we have no idea what to do. And somewhere in a quiet gym, maybe Miami, maybe Vegas, maybe a facility that doesn't even have a name yet, Caitlin laces up brand new sneakers with a logo the world hasn't seen yet and starts running full court. Drills with Brianna Stewart, Nathisa Collier, and a dozen other women who decided begging season is officially over. The old guard said she'd never leave. They forgot to ask what happens when the bridge you burned turns around and builds her own island. The counterattack isn't loud. It isn't angry. It's surgical. It's calm. It's a woman who spent 2 years being told her value had a ceiling, finally stepping into a building with no roof. And as the first clips leak of Caitlin, Stewie, and Fee laughing their way through transition drills in an empty arena that will soon hold 20,000 screaming believers, one thing becomes crystal clear. The revolution doesn't need permission anymore. It just signed on the dotted line. Now watch what happens when the future finally gets the keys. The shockwaves are coming, and this time, nobody's swallowing the whistle. The morning after the post, America wakes up to a different sky. ESPN opens SportsCenter with a black and white graphic. W. TV ratings projection 2026 minus Caitlin Clark. The number flashes red, a 68% drop. The anchor's voice cracks when he reads it. By 9 a.m., the league's broadcast partner is already in emergency renegotiations, slicing the rights fee like a butcher with a shaking hand. Primetime slots evaporate. Games get bumped to cable channels nobody can find without scrolling past 3 shopping networks. Indianapolis, once a fever dream of sellouts, hosts its first season ticket renewal numbers, down 41% in 24 hours. Corporate sponsors who paid 7 figures for courtside LED boards quietly asked for make goods. The Fever's arena looks like a cathedral after the congregation discovered a better God. Nike holds an emergency board call. Someone leaks the slide titled Clark Contingency. The stock dips 4% before the opening bell. State Farm pulls a 30-second spot that was supposed to debut during the finals, the one where Caitlin passes to a little girl in a hijab who then drains a three. They replace her face with a generic stock image in under 6 hours. The internet notices. The internet riots. Angel Reese posts a 30-second TikTok of herself staring into the camera, saying nothing, just slowly raising an eyebrow while money printer sounds play in the background. The caption, "Decisions, decisions." 40 million views in 12 hours. Her agent's phone explodes with offers that start with the word equity. Paige Buchers, still in college, tweets a single photo, her Yukon jersey hanging next to an unrivaled duffel bag. No caption. The recruiting world implodes. Across the league, group chats light up like Christmas trees on fire. Role players who never sniffed six figures see Unrivaled's posted salary bands and start doing math out loud. One veteran, anonymous but definitely top 10 in seniority, leaks to Woj that she's already lawyered up and shopping a no-trade clause that suddenly feels like handcuffs made of fool's gold. Young girls flood Caitlin's DMs. With tears anymore, but with videos of themselves shooting in driveways, hijabs tucked, braids flying, brown skin, white skin, every shade of the American dream, holding handwritten signs, "I'm next." The hashtag Build the Table trends for 72 straight hours, longer than any championship run in league history. In living rooms from Brooklyn to Boise, mothers who never cared about basketball before last year sit their daughters down and say, "Watch this." This is what happens when they tell you to stay small and you choose to grow anyway. Dads who used to flit past games now pause, eyes glassy, because they finally understand the word dignity has a jump shot. Unrivaled's website, back online after the crash, posts a countdown clock. 407 days until tip-off. Every hour the number ticks down, another brand announces a founding partnership. The arena announcements start trickling in. Miami, Atlanta, the Bay Area, homes for a league that hasn't played a game yet. And in the background, almost too quiet to notice at first, the sound of the future arriving. Construction crews pouring foundations, little girls trading in old jerseys for new ones that haven't even been designed yet. Players who spent years being told their worth had a ceiling, suddenly standing under open sky. The WNBA tries one last time to rally the narrative, a hastily assembled town hall. Tearful speeches about legacy, promises of structural change, but the camera catches it. Empty seats where sponsors used to sit. Microphones that echo because half the media has already pivoted to the new story. Because stories have power, and this one just switched protagonists. The empire didn't fall in one night. It cracked the moment a woman decided her bruises were no longer the price of admission. And now the pieces are scattering in every direction. Catching sunlight, turning into something sharper, brighter, impossible to look away. From the shockwaves aren't punishment, they're permission. And somewhere, a little girl who hasn't been born yet is already practicing her crossover because someone finally proved the game can love her back the way she deserves. But before we crown the new era, we have to sit with the truth of what was lost and what was found when one woman chose herself and accidentally freed us all. We were told the story would end with a villain cackling and a hero broken. Instead, it ends with a woman Standing in sunlight she built herself, holding the door open for every girl who was ever told to wait her turn. Caitlin Clark did not destroy women's basketball. She rescued it from a graveyard of good intentions and half measures. She proved that loyalty without reciprocity is just slow-motion surrender, that gratitude without protection is just dressed-up exploitation, that love that asks you to bleed quietly is not love at all. The WNBA's great sin wasn't low salaries; those could have been fixed. It was the arrogance to believe a generation raised on the internet, on body positivity, on immigrant hustle and black girl magic and queer visibility, would still accept the old rules, shrink so others stay comfortable, suffer so others stay rich, smile while they profit off your pain. That arrogance is what crumbled, not because Caitlin raged, but because she simply refused to play the old game anymore. And in that refusal, she handed every marginalized kid in America the most powerful weapon we have, the realization that your worth is not negotiable, not by gatekeepers who look like you, not by systems that claim to love you, not by a culture that wants your shine but not your demands. Look at what she built instead. A league where the rookie minimum is higher than the old league supermax, where mothers can bring their babies to practice without losing their paycheck, where trans athletes, queer athletes, disabled athletes, immigrant athletes, every shade and story of woman is written into the founding documents, where the phrase "pay your dues" has been replaced with "own your future." That is what victory looks like when dignity finally wins. This isn't just about basketball. It's about every daughter of immigrants who was told to keep her head down and her grades up. Every queer kid who was told the team only protects you if you stay quiet. Every woman who watched her male colleagues get stock options while she got pizza parties. Every person, another half-empty arena, and the old guard whispers that she tore it all down. Remember what actually happened. She tore down the lie that progress has to be polite. She tore down the lie that gratitude is owed to systems that never earned it. She tore down the lie that one woman's liberation comes at the expense of another's. And in the space where those lies used to live, she planted something unbreakable, proof that when women decide we are done asking, the future doesn't wait. It arrives wearing our jerseys, carrying our flags, speaking in our accents, loving in our truths, and daring the world to try keeping us small again. That is the moral of this story, America. Not that empires fall, but that new ones rise every time a woman who was told to sit quietly chooses to stand up and build a bigger table. And the beautiful part? There's still room at that table for all of us. So here we are, America. The Queen didn't burn the kingdom. She simply walked out of a house that locking the doors and built a palace with the windows wide open for every little girl who ever got told her dreams had a salary cap. Caitlin Clark just taught an entire generation the most radical lesson you can learn in this country. Your value isn't decided by the people who need you. It's declared by the person who finally refuses to need them back. The WNBA's reckoning isn't punishment. It's the sound of chains snapping. And every sold-out, unrivaled arena, every new friend, let them feel what progress feels like when it finally stops knocking and kicks the damn door down. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, because we're not done telling the stories of women who rewrite the rules in lipstick and crossover dribbles. Drop your take in the comments. What table are you ready to build? The game just changed forever. Be the voice that makes sure it never changes back. See you in the next one, family. The future is ours now. Let's go claim it.